I now call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order at 7 p.m. Please call the roll.
Ms. Pearson?
Present.
Mr. Schubert?
Here.
Ms. McCall?
Present.
Ms. Bennett?
Here.
Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Ms. Haley?
Here.
Ms. Stanford?
Here.
With 7 present, we have a quorum.
As we start each board meeting, we'll now take a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. As we start each board meeting, it bears reminding that the mission of Rockford Public Schools is to collaboratively engage all students in an equitable first-class education for a changing world. Before going any further, thank you to Ms. Kim Pedersen and Aaron Hill, who are working behind the scenes to produce the board's broadcast via YouTube live stream and Comcast Channel 20. I also wish to welcome Superintendent's Student Advisory Representative, Ryan Marr from Guilford High School. We will now recognize and celebrate outstanding contributions of our staff. Ms. Haley, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And good evening. Tonight, we are excited to honor RPS 205's outstanding students and staff and celebrate their great achievements. We only have one student to recognize tonight. Good luck to Auburn High School senior Corbin Gray, who has earned a spot as a national finalist for marksmanship. The Gifted Academy Pathway student is a 2-time captain of the marksmanship team and first 2-time Marksman of the Year. The championship is taking place in February at Camp Perry, Ohio. Congratulations. Over a 3-day period. It will be 1 day of training followed by 2 days of official shooting. Athletes will shoot an average of 200 pellets. Only 750 cadets out of 405,000 worldwide earn one of these coveted spots. Corbin is the 6th Auburn Knight in the last 7 years to accomplish this. After graduation from Auburn, Corbin plans to do Army ROTC at Iowa State. Corbin, please, you've already come forward, and congratulations on this great accomplishment. And that concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Haley. We are now on to the petitions and communication portion of our meeting, where we invite the public to make public comments. The board will not respond to comments at this time. If it is appropriate, you will be contacted in a timely manner by staff. Each speaker will be allowed no more than 3 minutes to address the board. It is not appropriate to discuss matters that would otherwise be confidential in such open meetings. If you look to your left, you will see 2 digital clocks. One shows the total time allotted to public comments, and one shows the total time for each speaker. We thank you in advance for your cooperation with our guidelines. Our first speaker will be Mr. John Tack Bradley, followed by Nina G. Anagali.
Good evening, school board, and Happy New Year. I want to start off by saying yesterday was Dr. King's birthday. This past weekend, 5 weekends in a row at Island Chapel Church, they've been talking about Dr. King. This past Saturday, I took 15 of our kids to Island Chapel Church. I'm blown away that none of our kids know who Dr. King is. A few of them think he's the president. None of our kids know who Louis Lemon is. We can't get upset with the school system about them not educating our kids about our history. It's up to us to teach our kids our history. I was also impressed to hear that Allen Chapel Church is going to join in with me. Some of our kids, I have 4 families that's homeless. A couple of our kids came to that meeting. I took them, they had no socks on. We going to Allen Chapel Church again this Saturday. I went from 3 kids to now moving 46 kids to school every day. More than half the kids that I'm transporting, parents can't give me 1 red cent for gas money, but yet I'm still going to take their kids to school. God, I'm going to leave it in the Lord's hand to help make a way. I'm averaging 240 to 350 miles a week. I'm averaging 160 in gas. I'm going to bring up the fact that we went to the Harlem Globetrotters game in Chicago, L.A., and New York. They have hundreds of kids that they take to the Harlem Globetrotters game. Here we have less than 2% of our African-American kids that go to the Harlem Globetrotters game. If we take a page out of the school board, like they take every year, they take 10, 15 school buses to the hockey game. Why not work with the Renewal Turning Point, and let's get 5 or 6 buses and take our kids to the Harlem Globetrotters game? Because we had 3 parents in their 30s, never heard of the Harlem Globetrotters. And then also, this would be 100 years they would be there. So I made a vow I'm going to bring 100. The chief of police, the chief of the fire department want to bring 50. The Park District is on board talking about 100. Talking with Dr. Reed, if we can get the principals at each one of the schools to pick 10 kids or 15 and 20 kids at elementary school that's doing good, well, then they would be able to go to the Harlem Globetrotters game on good merit. Harlem Globetrotters is not only entertainment, but it's educational. And to see 200 or 300 of our kids sitting down there up front and interacting with the Harlem Globetrotters players, that would be economical, and that would be life. You know, they would always remember that. So I'm asking the school board members to vote on what I'm talking about. Get with Dr. Reed. Let's make this happen on December. Last year was December the 28th. I don't know what year they're going to be here. The Metro Center want to give me flyers already to do this, and plus the Harlem Globetrotters main box office also want to continue to give me flyers to do this. Thank you. School board, vote on that, and let's take our kids to the Harlem Globetrotters game. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Nina Gianangeli, a Rockford resident and member of Eliminate Racism A15's Education Committee. Recently, our committee heard from Dr. Anthony Muhammad, a leading expert in school improvement. Dr. Muhammad emphasized the urgency of addressing the learning gaps exacerbated by the pandemic. He stressed that pandemics create a before and an after, presenting an opportunity for critical changes. This urgency resonates deeply as we look at the latest Illinois Assessment of Readiness data. Only 16.1% of Rockford Public School 205 third graders are proficient in reading. These disparities are unacceptable. We know all children can learn, and as Dr. Muhammad says, if we can act and change during a tragedy like the pandemic, we can act and change anytime we choose. Dr. Muhammad advocates for a professional learning community at work approach. This means taking collective responsibility where teachers can collaborate and not work in isolation, setting clear learning goals where everyone agrees on what students must learn, frequent assessments, tracking student progress regularly, targeted support, providing extra help for struggling students, and extending learning for those who excel, and using data-driven improvement, such as student data to refine teaching practices. Many districts use the term PLC but don't truly implement it. Dr. Muhammad calls this PLC light. Education needs to be PLC right, a genuine commitment to these principles. Examples exist. Despite nationwide regression in student achievement across the board, Tanque Verde Unified School District of Arizona, an organization with significant challenges before engaging in the PLC at work process, saw 15% growth between 2019 and 2022. Research has confirmed these results from their commitment to the PLC at work process. Closer to home, Prairie Hill, 133, a PLC model school shows impressive results. 58.8% of third graders just to the north of us showed proficiency last year on the IAR. We can learn from these institutions' successes. This work doesn't require massive new spending, and it is not contingent on any particular demographic. It's about reallocating resources and focusing on what truly matters, student learning. I urge the board to evaluate current PLC implementation. Is it light or right? Prioritize PLC development, provide the time, support, and resources for teachers to collaborate truly, and focus on student data to identify needs and adjust instruction accordingly. By embracing PLC right, we can ensure that all students, regardless of background, have the opportunity to succeed. Please reach out to our committee to inform us about your findings. Is RPS engaging in PLC light or PLC right? And if PLC light, what can the community do to support the district in engaging in PLC right? Thank you.
Thank you. Fabricio Barreras, followed by Tiffany Sorensen, please.
Barrios. My name is Fabricio Barrios.
Thank
Fine.
you.
No problem. Hello. First, I want to express that I'm deeply sorry to have to come here not to say something great that is happening at RPS, because I'm sure that there are lots of wonderful things happening, and many are made thanks to your administration. Nevertheless, I have to talk to you today about two things that are not good. I want to address the poor treatment of staff by human resource specialists and the lack of consistency between different departments at RPS. Let me put you under circumstances. I had heard that an HR specialist at my school found a loop in the contract, and last year, my school, only my school, not the entire district, just my school, didn't get any payment overages as we did before. So I reached the bilingual department, the superintendent in one meeting. We couldn't talk a lot about it. And different leaders in RPS. We emailed asking for help. Lori Hudley responded, but was not helpful. And she decided unilaterally to end the conversation. I submit the papers because I was advocating for what I think it was fair. I get paid and then ask the money back, which I did. Then the union started a grievance. Last week I was verbally reprimanded for a fraudulent submission of documents and disobedience to Lori Hudley with no proofs or investigation. I am here to ask you to set procedures that prevent for people in HR to call staff members fraudulent and disobedient without any proofs. And secondly, to ensure consistency between the departments at RPS. HR respond different from one school to another, and payroll doesn't know what they're doing. Nobody knows what the other is going to do. I'm here to ask you for what I believe is right. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tiffany Sorensen. This is my first time speaking before you, so I'll be reading my request for your sake and mine. I'm seeking a resolve for my son, Caden Dozie, and truly for all the athletes, for unacceptable behavior of RPS coaches. It happened recently during basketball at RVC Rumble in the Rock. It was East versus Auburn, an exciting tied game. 10 seconds before the end, Auburn brought the ball up the court, took a shot, and the ball bounced off the glass. An East player rebounded, but as he turned around, my son was there, Caden Dozie, snatched the ball out of his hands, turned towards the hoop, and with one continuous movement, put it into the net. And the game-ending buzzer went off after the ball left Caden's hands and down through the net. Auburn won, and my son was surrounded by elated teammates. After all games, players and the coaches line up for sportsmanship high fives. When Caden got to an assistant East coach, the man said, and I'm quoting from what was heard, "You're a B." The coach did not say B. He actually said the word that starts with the B and sounds like itch. This is beyond unacceptable. Teammates and an Auburn coach heard what he said, plus the action was caught on WREX camera. I've spoken with longtime coach dads who have never heard a coach, much less than an opposing team coach, calling a high school player a B. It is the ultimate insult one man says to another. The assistant coach should be a mentor, along with teaching the X's and O's of the sport. He needs to be fired. As parents, we don't need our teens taught that this is acceptable behavior, but this is not, and that he is not accountable, or that he gets a slap on his wrist with a few game suspensions. He definitely needs to be fired. I called in a complaint to the superintendent's office. The complaint was redirected to the principal of Auburn, who did call me. We spoke, and he knows Caden is respectful and not a problem. He was upset himself. He reassured me he would meet with the East principal, but would not be able to share with me what was discussed. That's why I'm here, because I need you to know and for me to know that actions will be taken. I also have a big concern because Friday night, East and Auburn play again at East. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are now on the Planning and Development Committee. Vice President McCall. Do you have anything?
Yes. Report in action on items that proceed through the Planning and Development Committees. A, resolution to sell general obligation, school bonds, health and safety. Is there a motion and a second to approve?
I'll take this. Thank you. Is there a motion and a second to approve items 5A?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Is there a motion and a second to approve item 5B?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
We are now on the performance and monitoring consent portion of our meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items listed in Section 6?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any consent items in Section 6 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? I have 6P. Are there any others? Please call the roll on items not pulled in Section 6.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
I pulled 6P because I have some questions in regards to the urgent contract. And there's an independent consultant. Who is the independent consultant?
The model that CPM, or College Preparatory Mathematics, uses is they have CPM certified teachers who are actively teaching CPM in a classroom. They become certified trainers, and then they serve as consultants with CPM. The last 3 times we've done a training, we've had Jesse Thiel, and in the summer we've also had a man named Marcus. I can't remember his last name, but she serves as an independent contractor to CPM, but she teaches the CPM method.
Okay, but she's not in RPS 205?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. There was some confusion that I found slightly offensive regarding this matter, so I just want to make reference or a reminder to share some information. And just to note, we will be reviewing the policy regarding the committees at the Committee of the Whole. But according to policy 2.220, the board president is responsible for focusing on board meeting agendas on appropriate content. The superintendent shall prepare agendas in consultation with the board president. The president shall designate a portion of the agenda as a consent agenda for those items that usually do not require discussion or explanation before board action. Anyone that want any additional details to this board policy, it is, again, 2.220. So I received an email regarding the urgency of this training. And while I understand things get missed and we have to do what we have to do, I did not appreciate how it was handled. So I was not fully aware of it being a problem. The further slight offense was the committee co-chairs being asked and providing directives in relation to the matter. Now, prior to me being included, the reason why I question this and put a red flag on it is it was sometime not long ago, the committee chairs wanted to move an item out, and they were told, if I am correct, that it had to be presented to the board president. So they were not allowed to move the item back without consulting me. But this situation, it was the entire situation without going into all of the detail, was presented to the board, the committee co-chairs first. And I have to believe that that was intentional because it was not consistent with previous requests. So I just want to remind everyone not to handle matters like this. So the $35,000, the policy where it relates to the $35,000 contract, when we do and handle situations like this, it leaves question, what is the real problem, and what happened, what was the breakdown that we were now in a crunch time, that we had to have it, and it was recommended by the co-chairs to add it to the agenda, yet it was attempted to just move forward without it being added to the agenda. So I really would like an explanation as to why.
Yes, the reason this happened, and certainly this was an error on our part, the cumulative contract was at $35,000, and it was missed until Thursday that this would put us under or over the $35,000 threshold. So a request was made to me to advise on what next steps would be to go forward with approval. Historically, there are 2 ways I have addressed issues like this as the superintendent. One way is to ask for board consensus. This is when something is time sensitive like this. And as a superintendent, the criteria I have used historically is is this a pattern of behavior on behalf of the person that's making this request that needs to be addressed, and is this an urgent matter? We had spent over an hour at the previous board meeting talking about the urgency of this training and our concerns with the lack of implementation. And so my recommendation was to seek board consensus so that we could move forward. I was concerned in general about adding an agenda item that hadn't gone through the committee structure, considered the option of putting it on, which is ultimately where we landed, because any board member would have the ability to do that. But I sought consensus from the board as opposed to putting it on the agenda. So that was a choice I made, and certainly there are better ways that could be handled, and I accept responsibility for that.
Thank you very much. Last reminder is, and I've noticed this to be a pattern over my 4-year experience on the board, and that is doing what you want and apologize later. And I just want to remind everyone that that is unacceptable. And I ask that it not happen again. We don't go 7 years in the wilderness and then all of a sudden it's an urgency. That is problematic. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
We are now on the planning and development consent portion of our meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve items in section 7?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any consent items in section 7 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
We are now on the governance consent portion of our meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve items listed in section 8?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any consent items in section 8 that the board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Please call the roll.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
We're now on the closed session consent agenda, including workers' compensation settlement agreement, JG, appointment of John Cusimano, 12th month high school principal assigned to College and Career Education Center, HR report. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items in section 9 closed session consent?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any closed session consent items the board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Ms. Bennett?
Letter C, please.
Thank you. Anyone else? Closed session consent item C has been pulled for separate consideration. Please call the roll on items that have not been pulled.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Yes. Please call the roll.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Abstain.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 abstain.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cusimano, congratulations and welcome. We are now on to student discipline, suspension appeals, and expulsions. Let me make sure, yeah. D004X-25, P0050, X-25, P007, 5X-25, P0079, X-25, and P0080X25 are expelled for the remainder of 24-25 school year through the entire 25-26 school year. H0019X25 is expelled for the remainder of 2024-2025 school year through the first semester of 25-26 school year. H0020X25, the expulsion is held in advance, contingent upon an expulsion in advance agreement for the remainder of the 24-25 school year through the entire 25-26 school year. P0086X25 is expelled for the second semester of the 25-26 school year through the entire 26-27 school year. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items in Section 10, student expulsion and suspension appeals?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any items the board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Please call the roll.
Just to clarify, only for 10, correct?
Correct.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
We are now on to student discipline EIAs. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items in Section 11, the student EIAs?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any items that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Mrs. Bennett?
Letter O.
Thank you. Please call the roll on items not pulled in Section 11.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Closed session consent item O has been pulled for separate consideration. Please call the roll.
Ms. Bennett?
No.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 no.
The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Jarrett?
Thank you very much. Before I cede my time to Ryan Marr, who will be our superintendent representative this evening, I did have a few things I wanted to share with the board as part of my superintendent's update. First of all, I have a couple shout outs, and it starts with John Cusimano. I want to personally congratulate you, John. You've been a long time hardworking member of our management team, and you are so deserving of this promotion, and we're so grateful you're going to be leading our CEC. So thank you for the many, many years of good work you provided our students. Thank you for taking on this challenge, and I know the CCEC is in good hands, so thank you, John. The second thing I would like to shout out is Dr. Reed, Jason Pope, and the recruiting team, as well as all of our Bridget French and her group, the academy coaches, and the teachers who teach our RU Pathway courses, because we have 38 candidates for the RU Pathway. When we started this, I think we really hustled to get to 8 or 9. We could do up to 20, and this year I believe we have 38 applicants, and these are young men and women that want to be teachers in the Rockford Public Schools. It's getting better every year, and that's certainly a testament to the hard work of Jason, Antoine, the teachers in the building, the principals. It really takes a team effort to get students excited about teaching. There are headwinds. If we're being really upfront about teaching and the way that profession is often viewed, there is often a lot of work and not always the sort of recognition. And for students to see the role models of their teachers and to be encouraged to go into the profession and to want to be part of that here, it's really powerful. I had a chance when I was at Rockford University recently to see one of the planning meetings, and we were able to see, we've had 9 cohorts of groups come through, and it was incredibly powerful to see people who have been teaching in our district now for 3 or 4 years from cohort 2, with people with cohort 6 that are still kind of finishing up their undergrad, and they could put a pretty powerful panel together. So I think the momentum is building, and the quality of our teaching profession is in good hands, with this program being a key component. So kudos to all of the folks that have had so much to do with that success, and certainly our partners at Rockford University who've contributed to it. Next, I do want to talk a little bit about the fun of calling a cold day. I want to give an apology to our families and to our bus drivers and to our students and to our staff. I really, it was unfortunate that we made the call as late as we did. And I do want to not make an excuse, but give you an explanation of how these decisions are made, so that as your concerns come out, I can certainly just explain what my thought process is. We have many districts across our region that are very quick to make that call, and I certainly respect that decision. They feel the priority should be on early notification for families when there's impending weather or snow. I have a different approach. I feel like our students, particularly coming off a 3-day weekend, really need to be in school. Some of our students desperately need those adult connections. They need, in some cases, the resources that are available to them, whether it's social, emotional, or physical. And so canceling school is something I take very seriously. And I put it off till the last possible minute, even though there's a trade-off for that, because I think it is so important for our children to be in school. So when many districts around the region were canceling school at 9 o'clock, I didn't, because I didn't know. I didn't know what the temperature was going to be for sure, and I felt like there was a group of regional superintendents. I check in with our bus drivers. So for about an 8 or 10 hour period, I was in regular contact with regional superintendents and with our bus drivers to find out what our status was, and it was a go. And when I went to sleep, there were about 5 or 6 regional districts that were with us, and there were no concerns with how many bus drivers are going to be. Because in a cold day, the real risk is if you have 20 or 30 bus drivers that are unable to get in because of unreliable transportation, because then students can be sitting in a bus stop. So at the end of the day, what happened was 4:15, everything was fine. 4:30, everything was fine. 4:45, all of a sudden we had another district say that they didn't think they could have enough drivers. Then some of our drivers started not being able to make it in. And now I have a choice. Now I can either be criticized for calling it too late, or I can do what I thought was ultimately the best thing for students at that time with the information I had, and I called it at 5:02, and we got it out at 5:10. So I will own that. It is probably the least fun part of my job, because I don't think there are any good decisions typically, and I am sincere when I apologize to families for the notice, but no, when I give you late notice, it's because I value the importance of children being in school, and it is not a decision I take lightly. It is not because I am lacking concern for our employees or for families who have to make last-minute child care decisions. I had every intention of having school when I went to sleep very late last night, and when I got up very early this morning to do that. So I just want everyone to know my why, and everyone has the right to do that, and there may be someone in this chair that makes different calls someday, and that's okay. But I want you to know how seriously I take that responsibility and why I made the decision I did. And so I'm sure folks will have some concerns, and they should. It was not okay to find out at 5:10 in the morning, but I also didn't think it was okay to call school at 9 o'clock last night either, but that was my personal belief. And so as long as the board entrusts me to make that decision, I'm going to continue to prioritize students being in school. Finally, I do want to turn it over, most importantly, to Ryan Marr, who has some great insights to share with us. And Ryan, I apologize for going on a little bit about snow days. I'm going to turn it over to you to end us on a much more positive note. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, members of the board. My name is Ryan Marr, and I am a junior at Guilford High School. I'm a part of the Superintendent Students Advisory Council, a group that provides insight in daily high school life to the superintendent and works hard to find solutions to rising problems that students observe in the district schools. I know your time is valuable, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. I've attended RPS 205 schools since preschool and been around with many different kinds of students and experienced many different kinds of teachers and situations. Today, I want to specifically talk about high school student life. There are many positive things that happen on a regular basis for high school students. For example, there are many classes where teachers focus on making learning hands-on and involve the students in lessons to make learning more interesting. This is important because involving students, I believe, is the best way to make sure they are processing the information. It also allows students from different grade levels to interact and even become friends. It is also nice to see that many teachers recognize students have lives outside of school, working hard to understand that they have other things going on, such as sports, extracurriculars, jobs, and family life. However, with all these things going right, there are a couple things that I believe still need some improvement from what I've seen. One issue that a lot of students around me talk about is the evolved security system. A student could walk through 10 times with the exact same items in their bags and get stopped only 5 times. This is a problem because it can delay students from getting to class on time due to potentially false readings. It also does not effectively catch any of the real problems in high schools, such as vape pens. I believe that security systems are a great idea for schools. However, this specific system seems to frustrate a lot of the student body. There are other available security systems that I've researched on, such as Volt AI, an AI-powered security system which has helped in many high schools across the country. Along with security systems comes security guards, a group of individuals who are hired and in place to protect the student body. However, many students feel that this is not always the case. When there are school fights, it is often teachers, principals, or resource officers who have to step in and break it up. Many of the guards also may make friends with certain students, resulting in unfair bias. For example, I've witnessed a favorite student being late to school and not getting a lunch detention, which is the common punishment. But if another student is late who the security guard may not know, they might receive that lunch detention. I'd also like to address the bathrooms. At Guilford, we have fewer bathrooms open than closed. This is due to the drug use that takes place in the school lavatories. However, closing down bathrooms has not been effective thus far. It challenges most students as they have to walk longer to get to the bathroom, taking time away from their learning. And when they get to the bathrooms, they still have to deal with the stench of marijuana and/or other substances. Security guards are supposed to be checking our hall passes, which some teachers don't even use, but they typically do not. The security guards assigned to the bathroom monitoring are not always there, meaning some students continue to misbehave in their bathroom use and punish the rest of the student body in doing so. The last item I'd like to talk about is student involvement. I said earlier that most teachers do a good job trying to get students more involved in learning. While this is true, I feel there must be more added to these attempts. Many students won't even give learning a chance because they feel they have better things to do with their time, such as talking to their friends, being on their phones, or napping to catch up on sleep. While this doesn't specifically affect me as much as the other problems I've discussed, I feel that these situations could become very dangerous for our society in the future. If a student can choose to not pay attention at all and cheat on tests to pass classes, leading to graduation with minuscule effort, then they will not be prepared for whatever endeavors they decide to indulge in after high school. It is also very unfair to the students that do well in classes by giving full effort. This lack of involvement is very worrisome, and I feel the district and schools should be more concerned. A potential solution might be focusing on being stricter with students who are not paying attention and making it very difficult to cheat on tests and assignments, therefore making it near impossible to pass the class without being attentive for most lessons. RPS 205 has done a wonderful job with many things throughout my time in the district schools. However, there are still plenty of things to work on and improve upon. I believe that the board should take time to address the safety and student concerns by determining if the evolved system is the best security system for the job, if we have security guards that are up to the standards they should be, how to stop illegal drug usage inside the building walls and bathrooms, and how to increase student involvement. I want to thank the board for the countless hours you spend working on improving the district in your own free time, because I truly admire your determination and focus. I hope you take my words in deep consideration and evaluate the best steps you can to provide the best possible future for all students. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Brian. That concludes my report. Thank you, Brian.
That was absolutely excellent. The next item on the agenda provides the opportunity for board members' discussion. Are there any board members' comments, action steps, other business, new business, agenda recommendations, or any other matters to discuss? If no further business before the board, I'll take a motion in a second. I'm sorry, Mrs. Bennett.
No problem. Okay, just two fast things, and I swear they'll be fast. So earlier today, the early bird social work program was going to have a student-led panel at Auburn High School, but it was postponed. It was not canceled. It was postponed until spring, when hopefully the weather is more cooperative. So I'll make sure that I let people know about that when that's coming up. And then the last thing is next month is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, and our committee will be presenting, as in Ms. Lawrence will be presenting the teen dating violence policy and manual. So just having that on everyone's radar. So thanks.
Thank you. Ms. McCall?
I just want to comment on, over the past couple of weeks, I was able to attend a couple of events that included Rockford Public School students. The most recent was I got to go to East High School last Friday, I believe, to help with the newcomers and their science project. So I forget the proper name for it. But the newcomers were presenting their science projects to volunteers and people in the community at their appropriate language level. And I was able to hear from many of our brightest students from that had a mastery of all the levels. So at every level, I saw really great knowledge of their science project. Secondly, I was at the Rumble in the Rock. I had to leave early, but it was good games. The girls and the boys basketball teams were awesome, and I love events like that. So I just want to give kudos to those who put those events together and for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carpenter.
Thank you. I wanted to give a quick recognition to a member of our Facilities Master Plan Steering Committee, community member, Antonio Ramirez, who was a very involved member of the steering committee, and he won the Excalibur Award in Rockford last month, and was really proud to see that, and proud to have him on our steering committee. So I just wanted to mention that.
Mrs. Bennett, did you have
I just had an addition to what Mr. Carpenter said. So the organization level one, tell me the opposite of that. Excelsior. I can never say that word right. Okay, so Excelsior Award was University of Illinois College of Medicine, which we are partnered with for the social work development of the pathways. And so great partnerships all around. So.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I'll take a motion in a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Good night. Thank you.